June is over and we can summarize the preliminary results of the first summer month of the offensive of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, which by many indicators of the destroyed Russian equipment was a record. So, adherents of the cult of failed offensive are dedicated, the records of June 2023. The absolute and most important record of the month is the number of destroyed artillery. The record was set not only by the number of destroyed artillery pieces, 688, but also by multiple rocket launchers, 57. All this was made possible by effective counter-battery warfare and the opening of occupier positions by combat reconnaissance. As we recall, this phase of the offensive is reconnaissance combat, nothing more. In June a record was set for the number of enemy air defenses destroyed, 56. Often air defenses were placed between the second and third lines of defense, or even on the third line, in the rear. This systematic burning of air defense equipment was also part of the preparations for the offensive. The number of special vehicles destroyed was also a record, 122. This also comes as absolutely no surprise, since with the activation of the Ukrainian side along the front line, the Russians were forced to activate all their units, including the engineering units, to support the supply lines. It is also worth mentioning other positions, though not record-breaking, but also important. One of them is the second highest number of unmanned aerial vehicles destroyed in a full-scale war, 414. This figure includes the Shahed 136. The second indicator for the entire period of the war was the level of destruction of vehicles, 555. This was the consequence of the mass opening of the warehouses of the occupiers and their destruction, in connection with which the warehouses were transferred to wheels. The destruction of logistics convoys returned to the level of the beginning of the war. The number of destroyed armored fighting vehicles, 390, is also worth paying attention to. Even if this is not the second and not the third indicator, but the highest since October 2022, the period of the previous offensive of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. It would therefore be wrong to ignore this figure. These are the results of June. And they show perfectly well what exactly was happening this month. And what took place was the systematic destruction of the enemy's forces and equipment, which significantly weakened his defensive capabilities. Taking out, systematically and confidently, the logistics and reducing the firepower. Until the artillery is suppressed, sappers cannot work normally, which means the advance will be difficult and with losses. I've been saying all along, war is work. It's long, hard and painstaking. Meanwhile, the Time edition brings some horrific amount of Russia's war spending, $1 billion a day. How they calculated it is hard to say. I can guess. They hire some accounting office, give them the statistics, how many people, equipment, losses, logistics, and so on. They calculate at market prices, which can easily be found online at some site of public procurement. In addition, you have to keep in mind that most of the costs are classified, nothing is clear there at all. But even if they overestimate it by half, let's say $500 million a day. To spend such unthinkable money to destroy the neighboring country, rather than make their own better and more comfortable. Putin's Russia is like a cancerous tumor, its only purpose is to devour its host and die with it.